Following the conclusion of Tihar, preparations are being expedited for the Chhath festival. Also in this edition of Kantipur News, we have updates about increase in revenue of the tourism sector, Israel's raid at Gaza's largest hospital, and the ICC Men's One Day International Cricket World Cup. Good morning, I'm Prarambha Dahal. Let's begin with the main stories. Preparations for Chhath festival gain momentum in Tarai district. Sanitation and beautification works of ponds underway. Contact Office of Kosi Province Chief Minister in Dhankuta along with Health and Education Directorate depending on helpers. Offices failed to perform in absence of efficient leadership. Israeli military raids Gaza's main hospital. UN appalled at the move. WHO extremely worried about patients. UN Security Council calls for urgent and extended humanitarian pauses. And Nepal women's national cricket team take on Hong Kong in T20 quadrangular series today, aiming for a comeback having lost the first match. The local levels of the Tarai region have expedited decorations of Chhath Ghat amid the nearing festival. Local levels have begun preparations to decorate river banks, ponds, among other water bodies for devotees who fast during the Chhath festival. Members of the Chhath Puja Management Committee, which has been assigned the responsibility of managing the Chhath Puja, and public representatives have been jointly making efforts to ensure sanitation and beautification of ponds and water bodies. It is believed that the wishes of the devotees will be fulfilled and their family will prosper by worshipping the sun during the Chhath festival. On the first day of the 4-day-long festival tomorrow, devotees take bath in rivers and ponds among other water resources. They fast on the second day of Chhath festival on Saturday, while on the third day various delicacies are prepared. The setting sun is worshipped at rivers and ponds on this day, which is known as Sajia Ghat, and meanwhile the rising sun is worshipped on the fourth and the final day of the Chhath festival on Monday. Members of the Kumal community of Bara are busy making different products, including the oil lamps made of clay required for the Chhath festival. The young members of the community have added modern elements to the profession of the Kumal community, which has its own traditional richness. The new generation has been assisting with the use of technology in production and marketing of their products. Many local residents of Bara Kalaya Submetropolis Ward number 6, Parsa Toll, have been producing clay items for decades. With the increasing demand for the nearing Chhath festival, the residents of Kumal community are busy in making clay products. While they used to make clay items with traditional equipment in the past, the use of modern techniques has eased their tasks. The young generation has also been attracted to the profession, as even those returning from foreign employment are now involved in pottery. The goods produced here are sold across the country. At a time, the profession was at risk of extinction. However, with the use of modern techniques, the new generation has been involved, which is an optimistic sign. Several important offices, including the Contact Office of the Chief Minister, Health and Education Directorate, have been set up at Dhankuta with the objective of ensuring efficient government services in the mountainous and hilly districts of Kosi Province. But in absence of an efficient leadership of the province government and the political parties, these offices set up for ease in service delivery and sound implementation of development projects have not been able to perform as expected. Contact Office of the Chief Minister set up in Dhankuta with the objective of ensuring the efficient implementation of development projects in the mountainous and hilly districts of Kosi Province is now operating with just one office helper. The Education and Health Directorates do not even have allocated officials, as they are focused in the province capital. While there is an office of the Public Service Commission, most examinations of the commission are held elsewhere. Security of the physical infrastructures of these offices has also been compromised. Contact Office of the Chief Minister and the residents are also in a similar condition. With the administrative leadership of Kosi Province and the political parties remaining indifferent to their assurances to the public regarding development and ease in service delivery, these offices in Dhankuta have gone quiet. The government has yet to address the demands of the local residents regarding compensation for their land in the dry port expansion area in Birganj. This has affected the works of the dry port. The locals have been staging protests at the main entrance of the dry port since the 1st of October, saying that the government has failed to compensate them for the acquisition of a total of 62 bighas of land between the dry port and the integrated checkpost in Sirseya, Birganj. The protest had been halted from the 8th of October after the office of the triport assured the protesting locals of addressing their demands. However, they have not been compensated as of yet. Collection of around 1.15 billion rupees in customs had been affected in the Nepali month of Assos when works at the triport had been halted for a week. The process of acquisition of 62 bighas of land between the triport and the integrated checkpost had begun following the decision made by the incumbent government on the 1st of January 2016. The authorities have already compensated around 4.5 billion rupees for 49 bighas of land. Compensation of 2.36 billion rupees for 13 bighas of land have remained to be provided. Survivors of the earthquake in Jorkha are concerned regarding protecting themselves from winter. According to our correspondent Sauraj Wali, survivors of the earthquake have appealed with the local government and other stakeholders to protect them from possible ailments caused by cold and ensure management of their safe accommodation. It has been learned that the local residents have not received any relief materials other than rice and tarpaulins. Our correspondent Wali has said that the local levels have not provided any information regarding their relief drive. The survivors have been compelled to spend their days and nights under makeshift shelters and have been facing difficulties in protecting themselves from the chilly weather. At least 101 were killed in Jorkha alone in the November 3rd earthquake. It is now time for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
The question is, why have works related to expansion of electricity transmission line been delayed? Your options are A. Incapable Nepal Electricity Authority, B. Administrative complications, and C. Protest of the local residents. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. A revival of the tourism sector, which was hit hard by the coronavirus pandemic, has led to an increase in revenue of the sector by 51%. By this time last year, the tourism sector had generated 11.24 billion rupees from foreign currencies, while the revenue has increased to just over 17 billion rupees this year. According to the report of the 3 months of the ongoing fiscal year published by the Nepal Rashtra Bank, the revenue was generated from 242,185 tourists. 5.42 billion rupees was generated in revenue from foreign currencies by the tourism sector in the fiscal year 2021-22 after the sector was hit hard by the pandemic. In the previous fiscal year, Nepal generated foreign currencies equivalent to 61.52 billion rupees from tourism, while the year before that reported 32.44 billion rupees. The highest number of 117,000 foreign tourists visited Nepal in October this year. Time now for the international news. The Israeli military has raided Gaza's main hospital in what it describes as a targeted operation against Hamas. An eyewitness at Al-Shifa hospital said that troops moved in overnight and were interrogating people. Israel has said it found Hamas's operational center at the hospital, sharing images of what it said were Hamas weapons and equipment, while Hamas denies operating there. UN humanitarian chief Martin Griffiths said he was appalled by the Israeli raid, while the World Health Organization WHO said it was extremely worried for patients and staff with whom it had lost contact. A journalist inside Al-Shifa said that Israeli troops were in complete control of the hospital and no shooting was taking place. He said 6 tanks and about 100 commanders entered the complex during the night. The Israeli forces then went room to room, questioning staff and patients. The Israeli Defense Forces reportedly asked all men aged 16 to 40 to leave the hospital buildings except the surgical and emergency departments and go to the hospital courtyard. Soldiers fired into the air to force those remaining inside to come out of the facility. The United Nations Security Council called for urgent and extended humanitarian pauses in fighting between Israel and Palestinian Hamas militants in the Gaza Strip for a sufficient number of days to allow humanitarian aid access. The 15-member council overcame an impasse which saw 4 unsuccessful attempts to take action last month to adopt a resolution that also calls for the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages held by Hamas. The United States, Russia and Britain, who are council veto powers, abstained from Wednesday's vote on the resolution drafted by Malta. The remaining 12 members voted in favor. The White House says civilians must be protected, while the UN's humanitarian chief says hospitals are not battlegrounds. Israel began striking Gaza after Hamas's 7th of October attacks, in which 1,200 people were killed and more than 200 taken hostage. The Hamas-run health ministry says more than 11,000 people have been killed in Gaza since, of whom more than 4,500 were children. The 26 Palestinian cancer patients and one 15-year-old awaiting bone marrow transplant arrived in Turkey shortly after midnight following the evacuation from Gaza to Egypt through the Rafah border gate. 13 others also arrived in Turkey to accompany the patients as they complete their treatment in a hospital in Ankara, Turkey's health minister Fahrettin Koca has said. The cancer patients were mainly being treated at a hospital in Gaza that was built with Turkey's support but was rendered unusable after Israel's attacks, Koca has said. He added on Wednesday that Ankara is making efforts to bring more cancer patients and sick children to Turkey. Turkey is in contact with Israel and Egypt about setting up field hospitals on the Gazan side of the Rafah border crossing, Koca has added. Baby turtles were released to the Amazon River as part of a program to preserve the species. Yellow-spotted river turtles nested in September in the Pacaya Samivia Natural Protected Area were released into the wild in the Peruvian northern Loreto state. They were part of the almost 3,200 species that have repopulated the river this year thanks to a collaboration between the public sector and private enterprises, including Mayana's local government and the multinational company AGE Group. The efforts to preserve the yellow-spotted river turtle started 20 years ago in Pacaya Samivia, and in 2009, the repopulation project was launched in the Peruvian Amazon. Turtle eggs usually last 72 days to hatch, although global warming has speeded up this process, biologist Sabrina Catherine Pipa-Perea has said. The IUCN Red List of threatened species listed the yellow-spotted river turtle as vulnerable. And now, before we wrap up, here's a look into the top stories one more time. Preparations for Chhath festival gain momentum in Tarai district. Sanitation and beautification works of ponds and water bodies underway. Contact Office of Koshi Province Chief Minister in Thamkuta along with Health and Education Directorate depending on helpers. Officers fail to perform in absence of efficient leadership. Israeli military raids Gaza's main hospital. UN appalled at the move. WHO extremely worried about the patients. UN Security Council calls for urgent and extended humanitarian pauses. And Nepal women's national cricket team take on Hong Kong in the T20 quadrangular series today, aiming for a comeback having lost the first match. That is all for the moment. Our next English bulletin is at 6 p.m. Thank you for staying with us. Have a beautiful day ahead.